बड़ा अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था एप्पल की तरफ से।
अच्छा, क्या खास बातें इसमें आपको लगी अच्छी लगी? ऑल प्रीवियस वर्जन भी थे, अपने आईफोन 15 के, क्या खास बातें लगी जिससे आप अट्रैक्ट हुआ इसमें?
सर अट्रैक्ट की तो कोई बात नहीं है, मेरे को है ही कि अंदर से कि मेरे को लेना ही है। हरदम मैंने टॉप फ़ोन रखे हैं, 13 था, 13 प्रो मैक्स भी मेरे पास था, 14 प्रो मैक्स भी मेरे पास है। अब 15 आया तो मुझे था कि 15 प्रो मैक्स ही लेना है और वो भी सबसे पहले लेना है। जी सर।
4 बजे से आप बने, कल रात से प्लानिंग कर ली थी कि
हाँ बिल्कुल सर, मैंने कल रात से प्लानिंग कर ली थी। सुबह 3:30 मैं उठा था, उसके बाद सीधा 4 बजे मैं यहाँ पे आ गया था सर।
We're entering the Apple Socket store and we're going to take you to the first look of the new iPhone 15 Pro range. So as you enter, the iPhone 15 series has entirely captured the floor over here. You will not find any iPhone 14s right now. And we have the 15 Plus over here. That's the first thing you'll see the moment you enter the Apple Socket store, or in fact the Apple BKT store in Mumbai as well. So this is the 15 Plus. Well, you have the dynamic island over here, and not to forget the Type-C port is over here as well. And this is the 15 Pro. 15 Pro. Again, the Type-C in iPhones. It's looking so weird that we're so used to seeing Type-C in Android phones only, and this is the first time we're getting to see Type-C ports in iPhones. And this is the king of the show, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is like the maxed out edition. This is a titanium finish that you can see.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. The big story we're tracking at this hour is the discrimination that's coming to the fore from China. A provocation once again, because 3 of our athletes have been barred from going to China for the Asian Games. They were athletes, they were traveling to China for the Asian Games as far as Wushu is concerned. All of those 3 athletes were blocked entry. They came from Arunachal Pradesh. A technical error is what China's defense really was, but it was all about the stapled visa that was given to them, and then of course the issue with downloading their accreditation at the airport. India now has come out with a strong worded statement. India is not going to take this lying down, even though China tries to buy the defense of how there is only an issue with the documents that was given. But MEA came out with a strong worded statement. They call this premeditated. They said there's absolutely no way we're going to take this lying down. In fact, we have the Sports Minister, Anurag Thakur, who has also decided to cancel his visit for the Asian Games there. He was going to go there for the concluding session. That visit has been cancelled as well. This will be taken up at the highest levels, was the message that was sent out to China by the Ministry of External Affairs. We are just going to be putting up that statement for you. Let's take a look at first what China said and then what India's response was. Look at what China said. This was their defense, but really was a provocation. China welcomes athletes from all nations, they went on to say, but of course it came with certain caveats. Athletes with legal documents are welcome. Now, what is legal documents according to the Chinese side? We don't recognize Arunachal Pradesh is what they said. Defense for their side, but nothing less than a provocation. Zhangan is part of China's territory. Once again, China going on to not ensuring that only these 3 players are not allowed to travel to China. These were the same 3 Wushu players who were blocked entry just 3 months ago. This is what India then decided to say, because India said this is not acceptable to us and India and China will have to pay. Discriminated against Indian sportspersons, it is a discrimination and nothing less than that. It is targeted and premeditated, is what the Ministry of External Affairs said in its statement. The accreditation was denied. The entry to the games was also denied to only these 3 players. The rest of the team and the coach are in China even as we speak. We reject this differential treatment was the clear message that New Delhi sent out. Arunachal was, is and will remain an integral part of India. No matter what China says, there's absolutely going to be no change in that stand, and China really needs to learn that, was the message that came in from New Delhi. It's a strong protest that will be lodged both in Delhi and in Beijing. Like I said, remember, the rest of the team, the coach, are already in China. They would be raising this issue with the authorities there. This action violates the spirit of the Asian Games. Is also a reminder that India sent out. The INB minister, like I pointed out, Anurag Thakur, he's also the sports minister. He has cancelled his visit to China. He was to be in China for the concluding session of the Asian Games, but he's decided to call off his visit in the wake of the provocation that has come to the fore from Beijing. Reactions are pouring in thick and fast. Listen in.
जहाँ तक एशियन गेम्स का सवाल है, चाइना ने जो कदम उठाए वो इलीगल है, अनएथिकल है। ओलंपिक चार्टर के अंदर किसी खिलाड़ी को किसी राजनीतिक कारण से आप भेदभाव नहीं कर सकते हैं उसके साथ, और खेलने से मना नहीं कर सकते हैं। अरुणाचल के जितने भी खिलाड़ी थे सब अरुणाचल स्टेट से हैं, मगर इंडिया के लिए, भारत देश के लिए खेलने जाने वाले थे। उनका वीज़ा रोकना ये बहुत ही नाइंसाफ़ी कदम है, और चाइना का जो कदम है उसको हम तो विरोध करते हैं, इंटरनेशनल ओलंपिक कमेटी को भी विरोध करना चाहिए।
That these Indian athletes got already visa for enter in China. China didn't refuse any visa, but the problem is, according to the Chinese government regulations, we have the right to give them different kind of visa. We have arrival visa, we have a paper visa, we have the visa is the passport. This is the host country government regulation.
Abhishek, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details on this. Abhishek, India has made its stand clear. We saw that statement that came out from the Ministry of External Affairs. This is premeditated targeting. It's discriminatory and nothing less than that, is what New Delhi has said. But this has happened for the second time in just 3 months. What happened last time around, if you could put this in perspective for our viewers, and what India had done back then?
So last time also these 3 wushu players were going to participate in Chinese games that were being hosted in China, and at the airport when the documents were scanned and it was found that they have got stapled visa, then their boarding was stopped and the entire wushu team did not go to participate in China. So that was the story last time.
Okay.
Right now, when we were hearing the Chinese official who was trying to defend the Chinese stance, saying that the visas are being issued on the local host government's regulation basis, he has mentioned about the paper visa, visa on arrival, and visa e-visa, but he has probably forgotten to mention that the staple visa is a diplomatic problem, and staple visa is not accepted. India and China, they have had issued, they have had objection. He has raised objection about with China on the staple visa in the past also, and people have not been able to travel to China, despite knowing the fact that issuing a staple visa to particular sports person will hinder their prospect of participating in that Asian Games. Chinese authorities went ahead and knowing fully well the diplomatic tussle it will create between the 2 nations, they have issued staple visa. So the intention is very much clear. China wants to keep the overall diplomacy in a bad shape. The steering, the issue should be remain very disturbed. That is what probably Chinese intention have. They have always said that the border tension or the tension that has erupted in the last 3-4 years between the 2 nations, they should be put in the appropriate place, and other aspects of the bilateral relationship should go ahead as usual. But even if the other aspect of the bilateral relationship we can talk about, the people-to-people exchange is one of the major dimension of it, and we have seen how Chinese government have not allowed visa for the students who were studying in China post the COVID pandemic. So many of the students could not go back to China, join their college studies, and they had to stay back and somehow complete their study. So even if we say that in other aspects, Chinese have not been respecting the other dimension of bilateral relationship, leave aside the border tension that has been going on as a major standoff between the two nations, and the latest visa rule that China has created that completely goes against the sportsmanship spirit, the spirit of Asian Games, where the host country needs to facilitate as many sports persons to come and participate and ensure that the overall spirit of the games are kept alive. But this time also China has tried to ensure that the diplomatic draw between the two nations come into the fore, and they play the spoil sport for this Asian game also.
Right, we were going to be seeing Union Sports Minister, INB Minister Anurag Thakur go to China for the concluding session of the Asian Games. That has now been called off. India, in that statement that came to the fore from the MEA, Abhishek, also went on to say that it is in our interest to ensure that we take steps and take measures to counter actions and provocations like this.
Of course, this is clearly a mark of protest of Anurag Thakur not visiting China. He was going to represent India as a delegation head and participating. He would have probably encouraged the spokesperson who were trying to represent India in the game also. But the latest staple visa issue that China has brought again with these wushu players from Arunachal Pradesh, that has kind of spoiled the entire mood of the bilateral relationship, especially in times of this sports, which is normally kept away from the politics. And we have seen, be it Olympic, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, or any major games or World Cups across the world. Countries normally try to facilitate as many as audience to come and visit and see the matches and the sports. And so the sports person, they are given due weightage. Respectfully they are brought and facilitated to come and participate in the game. Otherwise, there is no point of creating a diplomatic issue out of nowhere amidst the overall game that is going to happen. This is what India has kind of expressed and messaged to China, that in the mark of protest, Youth Affairs Minister and Minister Anurag Thakur will not be going to participate in the ceremonial reception or the ceremony that is going to happen in China. And also, India has said that the strong protest has been raised both in Beijing and New Delhi. Indian Chinese mission in New Delhi has also been apprised of the India's objection and the way India has rejected the staple visa issue in the past also and this time also.
Right, Abhishek, do stay on with me. Former diplomat Ashok Sajjanar also joining us here on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. We have seen this kind of provocation from the Chinese side for a second time in just the last 3 months. This is not the first time. It won't be, unfortunately, the last time either. What more steps can India take apart from the condemnation that has come to the fore?
I think in addition to the condemnation and the protest, India needs to take some specific countermeasures as far as China is concerned. In the same realm, meaning they don't issue visas to our sportspersons or others. I think we should also take some similar measures, similar stand on, as far as certain regions that are, under China, whether it is Tibet or it is Xinjiang, whose connect with China is somewhat tenuous. Like Tibet, definitely, it's an autonomous region. So we need to give it some thought as to how we can respond, how can we react in a more substantive manner rather than, just lodging protests here in Delhi and in Beijing, because obviously we see that on China it has no impact at all. So we really need to give it a closed look and a deep thought as to how we can react, something that will have an impact as far as China is concerned.
And aside from the diplomatic point of view between the two countries, it's also about the individuals who are losing out, the athletes who are losing out, isn't it? Because the rest of the team and the coach did fly out to China for the games. It was just these three players that lost out in the last tournament as well 3 months ago, and once again in the Asian Games.
No, absolutely. I think the individual aspect is definitely there, but that in many cases it happens, like even in the case we see of the recent fracas that Canada has raised, and we have stopped issuance of visas. So Visas, as far as the Canadians who want to come to India at the individual level, they are also being affected. But we have to look at the policy structure and the policy response as to how we react to a particular situation. So here also, we need to look at a policy response as far as China is concerned, so that there is a pushback that they don't think that they are able to get away with it without any costs involved to them. So that really definitely needs to be considered in detail and a policy decision taken.
Right, Mr. Sajjanhar, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. This is a big controversy that has been triggered by the Chinese side. Once again, a provocation coming to the fore, something that India is not going to take lying down. But it is about these players, these athletes coming in from Arunachal Pradesh, once again, that unfortunately are at a loss. CNN News 18 and my colleague Ridhima Bhatnagar, in fact, just a short while ago, spoke with the All Arunachal Pradesh PWA advisor on what this issue really is, how they've been battling it for years together. Listen in.
How should we really read this move? And what should be the response as far as India is concerned? We have a very special guest now joining us on the broadcast. We have Mr. Toko Teki, ex-president, advisor, Arunachal Pradesh Wushu Association. So thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us here on CNN News 18. Before we get into the specifics, whether there's a larger pattern here, how do you see these recent developments?
Madam, we are very sad about the latest development. Our three Wushu players from Arunachal Pradesh who competed in national level and they become champion in national level.
Yes.
So they were selected for Team India to participate in Wushu in China in Asian Games. So unnecessarily our players, though they were ready last moment, they were deprived from going to China. So we are very sad. And we want to ask this question to China: why discriminate our players?
Yes, that is the larger question, sir. That is this visa discrimination. I just want to understand the sequence of events. Can you help us understand what really happened with the players? From what we are understanding, apparently they couldn't download their accreditation forms. Is that correct?
No, two couldn't download, but out of three, one downloaded.
Okay.
But at the last moment, she was also denied that she can travel up to Hong Kong, but beyond Hong Kong, she cannot go like that. All were denied. So, this is technical issue, madam. We do not know much deeper into it, but this is no nation should discriminate any sports person.
Oh, absolutely. And this really isn't happening for the first time, sir. So now I want to understand what is the kind of conversations that you've had with the players. We understand they're currently at a hostel. They're waiting for this entire matter to be sorted out. This will have a direct bearing as far as their aspirations and the kind of laurels that they can bring to the country as well. What is the kind of last conversations that you've had with the players themselves?
Yes. Yesterday over the telephone, I talked to one of the player, Miss Mepung Lamgu. And she said that they met our local MP, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, who is Union Minister also, and they are trying their best. And the India government is trying their best to send them, to avail them the chance to compete in Asian Games. Because these girls are very, very good athletes and they can win even gold medal in Asian Games.
Yes, absolutely.
They are very good champion in India.
Absolutely, sir. Nobody questioning the kind of competence that these players have. I also want to understand what I pointed out a short while ago, that we're seeing an unfortunate pattern here. Even in July, our players were handed over stapled visas. Do you think there is a larger pattern that is now emerging as far as the Chinese authorities are concerned?
Actually, there is, madam, political issue between India and China.
Sure.
International politics, which Arunachal is unnecessarily victimized. Because we were never under China in our past history also. We were never under Tibet also. So claiming us is their part, honestly I'm speaking, it is not true. And unnecessarily harassing our sports person, because sportsmen from anywhere in the world, they should be allowed to reach any country wherever it is organized.
Abhishek continues to be with us on this broadcast. Abhishek, we've seen the MEA statement, and towards the end, they say that it's well within our rights and within India's interest to ensure that this kind of discrimination does not happen. But have you gathered any information from your sources within the MEA if there's any more action that they are planning to take over this?
We have seen India reciprocating on many of the issues in the past. Also, the kind of visa that were restricted, and many students who could not go back to China for study. Ever since then, there has been discouragement from Indian government for Indian students to go back to China for their studies and for other things. The Chinese started direct flights also. There have been very reluctant in issuing visas. So the people-to-people engagement aspect of India-China bilateral relationship has also seen a lot of dwindling down in terms of cooperation. And the staple visa, though it has been a diplomatic row in the past, also the issue has been raised on multiple occasions with the Chinese authorities. But this is a time when probably China was trying to raise the issue in the background of Asian Games also, where the sports person who were supposed to go and participate there and contest their titles, they have been not allowed and not given that opportunity because of the diplomacy that China wants to play in a most negative and unethical way. Arunachal Pradesh has been an inalienable part of India. China has always tried to mess up the situation in Arunachal Pradesh. They have come out with certain maps at times, renaming the geographical location in Arunachal Pradesh, just to ensure that the issue of Arunachal Pradesh remains an issue between India and China, and so that probably in sometimes in future they would claim that okay, there has to be a legacy issue, and so let's sit down and settle it out. Arunachal has been very much part of India. The sovereignty and territorial right on that land and geographical region extends for Indian government, and in that respect, if China does not allow anybody from Arunachal Pradesh to have a normal visa on Indian passport, that is really a kind of provocation from the Chinese side, which China has done again. And New Delhi has raised the issue both in Delhi with the Chinese embassy, and also the mission in Beijing has also raised the issue with the Chinese foreign ministry that this is not done, this is unethical, this is illegal, and Chinese should refrain from doing staple visa to Indian nationals.
It'll be interesting to see how the Chinese government responds to this. But for the moment, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that and putting that in perspective for us. This is a controversy that unfortunately is blowing over. We will keep a track of that and much more here on CNN News 18. Slipping into a quick break on this edition of Nation at 5. Back in just a few minutes. Do stay tuned.
किसानों को
This is the titanium finish, and let's see the pricing. So the minimum base variant of the iPhone 15 Pro Max is 256 GB, and yet it starts at 1,59,900. That's quite expensive, especially in India compared to other countries. But yeah, this is the flagship device of this year's iPhone range. And if you're on budget, if you have around 75,000 rupees, then this is the iPhone 15. Now, there is a dynamic island in all of these iPhones. The first time you're getting to see dynamic islands on all the new iPhone 15 range. And of course, USB Type-C. As far as the processor is concerned, the iPhone 15 has the same processor like the iPhone 14 Pro. So it's basically, you can say the iPhone 14 Pro with dynamic island. That's what the iPhone 15 is all about. And this is the A16 Bionic chip, A16. This is the A17 Pro. Now, this is a new chipset, and this is very powerful. A17 Pro chipset on both this and the 15 Pro Max. You can convert the iPhone 15 Pro series into a gaming console. You can play AAA titles. That's cool. You can just plug into your phone to a monitor and along with a gamepad, and you can game like a pro. That's really interesting. So this is the titanium. Yes, this is the titanium range. As you can see, there are other color options as well. I'll just take you through the iPhone 15. Is the pink, and is the lighter shade of the new titanium finish. And there is another interesting color over here. This one. So if you come to the Apple Socket store, you can touch all the iPhones, and you can actually get to experience all the phones. You can check out all the colors and all accessory range as well. And talking about the iPhone 14, there is a 14 series phones as well. Yes, just for comparisons, if you want to compare and see that which one makes more sense. So this was the new iPhone 15 Pro range. You can of course come into any Apple store, Apple BKC or Apple Socket stores to check it out, or you can also go to Reliance Digital or Chroma or other retail partners as well to check out the new iPhone 15 series. So from September 22nd, that is today, the sales have started, and of course you can just buy the same product online as well. You may get some good discounts. If you're buying in store from any of the Apple store, there is an HDFC card discount of rupees 5,000 that you can get.
First time for everyone. That's why, you know what I mean? Because you have to have an employee to serve you. Make a mistake. Don't worry about it. First time for everyone.
काफ़ी अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था मेरा। मैंने सुबह से वेट किया यहाँ पे, क्यों में मैं खड़ा था। कोई करीबी 4 बजे से मैं खड़ा हुआ हूँ, तब जाके मेरे को मिला है। बड़ा अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था एप्पल की तरफ से।
अच्छा, क्या खास बातें इसमें आपको लगी अच्छी लगी? ऑल प्रीवियस वर्जन भी थे अपने आईफोन 15 के, क्या खास बातें लगी जिससे आप अट्रैक्ट हुआ इसमें?
सर अट्रैक्ट की तो कोई बात नहीं है, मेरे को है ही कि अंदर से कि मेरे को लेना ही है। हरदम मैंने टॉप फ़ोन रखे हैं, 13 था, 13 प्रो मैक्स भी मेरे पास था, 14 प्रो मैक्स भी मेरे पास है। अब 15 आया तो मुझे था कि 15 प्रो मैक्स ही लेना है, और वो भी सबसे पहले लेना है। जी सर।
4 बजे से आप खड़े, कल रात से प्लानिंग कर ली थी कि
हाँ बिल्कुल सर, मैंने कल रात से प्लानिंग कर ली थी। सुबह 3:30 मैं उठा था, उसके बाद सीधा 4 बजे मैं यहाँ पे आ गया था सर।
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. The provocations that came to the fore from the Canadian side and from the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau to be specific, have only escalated over this entire week. One comment after another, allegations against India about involvement in the killing of a Khalistani sympathizer, but absolutely no proof to give to substantiate or corroborate the statements he's making. And it's not just India that's asking for proof. Even within Canada, even within his opposition, people are asking, where is the evidence for which you are making such allegations? We've seen several of our allies take a neutral stand, the United States too, wanting more information as far as this investigation goes to know exactly where it is and what is going to be the conclusion. But like I said, in this 1 week itself, Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, has provoked on at least 3 different occasions, 3 different kind of comments coming to the fore, all of which pointed fingers towards India without any evidence. Listen in to what Justin Trudeau had to say over the course of this week.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Last week at the G20, I brought them personally and directly to Prime Minister Modi in no uncertain terms. Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty. It is contrary to the fundamental rules by which free, open, and democratic societies conduct themselves. In the strongest possible terms, I continue to urge the government of India to cooperate with Canada to get to the bottom of this matter. As I've said, India and the government of India needs to take this matter with the utmost seriousness. We are doing that. We are not looking to provoke or escalate. We are simply laying out the facts as we understand them. Call upon the government of India to work with us, to take seriously these allegations and to allow justice to follow its course.
Now, for one instance, India was blamed by the Canadian side, but what about the others that are coming to the fore? Is there a law and order situation that is getting out of control for Justin Trudeau? Well, intel sources are now revealing to your channel that many within Canada too are raising those questions. There's massive crisis in the country that Trudeau is unable to handle, is the voice that's coming in from his rivals in the country of Canada as well. Let's now get you details of what we've accessed from our sources within the intel agencies here in India of why Justin Trudeau and his administration is on the back foot as far as the law and order situation in that country is concerned. We're now learning is that the hiring in the police department has been stopped in Canada because they do not have the funds for it. Surrey County especially needs at least 1,500 policemen, but they only have about 500 or 600 because they do not have any more funds to hire anymore. Despite evidence, there is no action that has been taken against Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon just as yet. We're also learning that corporate bankruptcies and defaults are surging, and that seems to be a big issue as far as the economy is concerned. Remember, inflation and protests over that is something Justin Trudeau and his administration are already facing. Home rentals have been up by 4 times due to the Ukraine war. Canada has been sending arms, has been sending financial aid to Ukraine over the past year and a half. That is something that seems to now be plunging his own country into crisis. Due to the low wage, there is an increase in criminal activities as well. Unfortunately, that's something for Trudeau that he did not anticipate, and that seems to now be an issue. Abhishek, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details. Now, Abhishek, it's easy for Justin Trudeau to turn around and blame India without providing any evidence as far as the involvement in Nijjar's death is concerned. But he will have to answer about the law and order situation in his own country, isn't it? Because questions are being raised from within their country too.
Well, we have seen Justin Trudeau's remark and then the kind of the uproar it has created. But even despite almost 4 days of those remarks or those statements in the parliament, Justin Trudeau government has not been able to come out with any substantial evidence on the basis of which not only they have leveled charges against India, but they have expel a senior Indian diplomat as well. So, what were so strong grounds that Justin Trudeau did have, and he is unwilling to share it with the world or with the public or in the media? That is one question. The second part is this seems like a clear distraction and divergence strategy of the Justin Trudeau government to for their own domestic reasons because of the political compulsion that he's having. His ratings, his popularity rating is going down. The issues of inflation, economics, law and order, they are taking center stage in the Canadian, discourse, the social discourse in Canada and the media space. Law and order has been one of the key issues that has been not in very good state in Canada. We have seen multiple occasions. In fact, in the month of March also earlier this year, there was a stabbing incident that has happened that has gone viral. India has also raised several instances of Khalistani extremist violent groups attacking Indians, intimidating Indian community, threatening Indian diplomats. There has not been a single instance where those cases or those concerns have been addressed. There has been any legal process or any arrest or anybody who has been summoned or questioned. So that clearly tells the kind of laxity Canadian authorities have against criminals at large, and of course the anti-India sentiments propagated also that they are reluctant to act against them, and that is really percolating down, which is now impacting the day-to-day law and order situation in Canada as well.
Right, and the opposition in Canada is gunning for Justin Trudeau on multiple fronts, isn't it? They too have come out and asked where is the evidence based on which these allegations were made, even on the floor of the parliament there, which is why we've seen the opposition gunning for Justin Trudeau. But India too has taken a very strong stance. No words were minced yesterday by the Ministry of External Affairs when that statement came out as far as Justin Trudeau's allegations were concerned.
Well, see, West and NATO and European unions and many of the countries on that side, they have been increasingly looking up to India as their partner, as strong ally. In fact, NATO countries have also expressed a strong eagerness to cooperate and collaborate with India for the security and defense aspect in Indo-Pacific region. So clearly, India has kind of become or increasingly becoming indispensable as an alliance, as a partner, as a friendly nation for the West. And in that context, if one of their members is firing those unsubstantiated allegations against India, that kind of, jeopardizes their entire policy of Indo-Pacific, where India could be a very strong and reliable partner. So this is one reason why the NATO is now also asking Justin Trudeau government to come out clean on those remarks, put forth all the evidences that they have, probably at least something that could establish Indian agencies' alleged role in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Probably the entire intelligence could not be put in the public domain, but there can be something that could substantiate his remarks that he has raised and given in the parliament. So this is a reason why the opposition in Canada, NATO members and allies of Canada, they have also started asking where is the evidence from the Justin Trudeau government, and there has not been anything substantial that has come officially. There have been some quarters of Canadian media which have reported source-based information that there are some conversation or some telecommunication evidences that the Canadian government has, but they are still unofficial, unconfirmed.
Right, and we will have to wait and watch out for Justin Trudeau himself perhaps to come out and give that evidence, or at least to show the direction in which the investigation is going. For the moment though, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. Let's listen into some more reactions that are pouring in as well.
Yes, I do think there is a degree of prejudice here, They have made the allegations, they have taken action on them. To us, it seems or it appears that these allegations by the government of Canada are primarily politically driven. आपने देखा होगा कि हमारे जो कनाडा में हाई कमिश्नर और कॉन्सुलेट्स हैं उनको किस तरह के सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट्स वो फेस कर रहे हैं, उसको आप जानते हैं. इससे उनका जो सामान्य कामकाज होता है उसमें बाधा पड़ी है, उसमें डिसरप्शन आई है. इसीलिए हमारी हाई कमीशन और कॉन्सुलेट्स अब टेम्पररीली वीज़ा एप्लीकेशंस नहीं प्रोवाइड कर पा रही हैं. अभी के लिए ये सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन जो कनाडा में और कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट की इनएक्शन से रहा है, उसके लिए हम इसको अस्थायी रूप में हम इसको वीज़ा आवेदन का जो प्रोसेस है उसमें बाधा पड़ रही है और इसीलिए हमने उसको अभी उसको स्टॉप कर रखा है. The larger issues of terrorism, and not just terrorism, but also the fact that it is being funded and supported, and we know this for some time from our western neighbor Pakistan. But the issue of safe havens and places to operate is being provided abroad, including in Canada.
Now, Canada may not be sharing any information or evidence, but CNN News 18 is accessing details from the Indian side and from our intel agencies, and this is what we've learnt now. There is a terror ecosystem that's emanating and prevalent in the Canadian soil is what intel agencies here in India believe. Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a resident of Jalandhar, and since his early days he had connections with local goons. He misrepresented his identity to gain Canadian citizenship. He in fact is a terrorist, is the unequivocal stance that India has taken. Remember, Hardeep Nijjar also faced an Interpol red corner notice from several years ago, and yet it was the Canadian government and the Canadian Prime Minister who spoke about his nationality and his death and blamed India for it. Arunima, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details. Now, Arunima, we have details of the NIA dossier as well, of the rap sheet that Hardeep Singh Nijjar had, the red corner notice that he had against him that was issued by the Interpol. You have some more details that you've now accessed from your sources within the intel agencies?
Yes, the intelligence agencies have put together full dossier on how Nijjar actually reached Canada, and this claim that he was a Canadian citizen who has been allegedly killed by Indian agencies, the claim that the Canadian Prime Minister has made, India has in fact questioned that too. His very citizenship of Canada is something Indian agencies are questioning, pointing out that how he had misrepresented facts before Canadian authorities, and therefore his application for asylum was rejected not once but twice. Subsequently, he made another application for citizenship on grounds that he had married a Canadian woman. But this marriage was also to a lady who was supposedly sponsored by another person who had migrated from India. So it seemed to be a racket and not a genuine marriage, which was challenged in the court as well. And how he got his Canadian citizenship is also unclear. The facts of that is not clear. When Canada says that their citizen has been murdered, there is a question mark that Indian agencies are putting on his very citizenship itself. Second, they are pointing out that from the time he left India, there are enough evidence against him: forging a passport, association with Khalistan Commando Force, association with Jagdeep Singh Tara, who was, Pakistan-based KTF chief, explosive training, also carrying out terror-related activities. All of this was known to Canada, yet they did nothing to assuage India's concern. That is what Indian agencies are pointing out, that even there was a red corner notice, Canada did not act upon it.
Right, Canada willingly turned a blind eye. That's the allegation that has been made for decades together. In fact, it was Justin Trudeau's father who's been facing that allegations since the 80s as well. But Arunima, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. Now, even as the diplomatic standoff continues, unfortunately, there is confusion prevailing because India now has decided to temporarily suspend its visa services in Canada. A lot of questions prevail, especially at these visa centers. It was addressed by the Ministry of External Affairs yesterday. CNN News 18 also went on ground to take a look at what exactly is the fear or the confusion in the minds of the people. Take a look.
You can see that long queue outside the office. A lot of people in that queue have come to inquire or perhaps related to Canadian visa. The High Commission is unofficially verbally conveying it to people that since there is a rift between the two countries, there's a high possibility that visa will get will not be accepted. Commission is also verbally conveying it to people that that work visa stamp process can be delayed because of the given the recent circumstances, and they are diverting people to the VFS office where we are reporting from.
Sir, because of the situation that is ongoing, in last 2 to 3 days, how many calls have you received? Is there confusion among students? And who are these students who are basically calling you and reaching out to you?
I think the students are quite concerned. In past 2 days, I've got more than 20 calls. And I think I've got a lot of WhatsApp messages also, people trying to figure out what is going to happen now in terms of their future aspirations of studying at Canada.
So, sir, basically, those who are reaching out to you, are they school students? Because many of the students also go to complete their schooling in Canada and abroad and other destinations. First of all, we would like to know how sought after is Canada as a destination for higher studies. Secondly, who are these people who have been calling you? Are they higher education students, or they are also students who want to complete their schooling from Canada?
I think a wide variety of students have been calling up. Just to give you some sense, in past 1 year itself, around 3,800 students went to Canada to study there, pursue their high school education. People are going to pursue their education after 12, people are going for post-graduation. So all these kind of students have been calling up saying that, should I now look at Canada as an destination, or should I look at some other options? What is going to happen? Is it going to continue for a long period of time? Would I get a visa? Should I study in India? Should I look at an alternate option? So I think that's what the concerns people are raising, and I think they are quite valid in that sense.
First of all, my first question would be straight on the education visas, because there are a lot of notifications coming from both sides, be it the Canadian government or from the Indian government. My first question would be, is there anything to worry about, and in fact to worry for the students when it comes to going abroad and in fact going to Canada to study?
Initially, first of all, I am very thankful to CNN for taking us on channel regarding this issue, because it's a very serious issue right now going on, especially if we talk about the international study part. So we are, as per the guidelines going on both sides, एंड जो अभी इनिशियल पार्ट पे जो चीजें चल रही हैं, उस चीज को हम बात करें कि स्टडी वीजा जो कनाडा में अभी चालू है, उसमें जो वरी होने की है, क्योंकि जैसे इंडियन डिप्लोमेट से जो स्टोरी सबके सामने है ही है जो हो रहा है, और तब इंडिया गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कल एक अच्छा कह सकते हैं कि एक्शन ले लिया उन्होंने कि वीजास बंद कर दिए ताकि उनको ये बात का एहसास कर सके. लेकिन हमें बीइंग ए कंसल्टेंट या बीइंग ए, अगर हम एजुकेशन स्टूडेंट्स के पक्ष की बात करें, उनकी तरफ से बात, उनकी साइड की बात करें, तो वो एक बहुत वरी वाली बात ये है कि कुछ लोग, कुछ बच्चे जिन्होंने इसमें, हमने पॉइंट्स नोट कर रखे हैं कि कैसे क्या क्या चीजें होने की संभावना हमें लग रही है, जिसपे हमें घबराहट हो रही है. पहली जो है कि जो बच्चों ने वीजास अभी अप्लाई करे हुए हैं और जिनकी फीस ऑलरेडी कनाडा कॉलेजेस और यूनिवर्सिटीज में जा चुकी है, उनके कईयों के डिसीजंस आ चुके हैं, उनके माइंड में कहीं ना कहीं ये घबराहट है, क्योंकि नॉर्मली उनके पेरेंट्स की तरफ से हमें कॉल्स आनी शुरू हो गई है, कंसल्टेंट्स को कॉल्स आ रही है कंसल्टेंट्स को कि क्या वीजा बंद हो गया, क्योंकि लोगों के एक भ्रम माइंड में चल रहा है. लेकिन अभी तक ऐसी कोई नोटिफिकेशन हमें कनाडा की साइड से नहीं आई.
But that is time for a quick break here on this edition of Nation at 5. But there's lots lined up for you on the other side. Do stay tuned with us.
Brought to you by
We're entering the Apple Socket store and we're going to take you to the first look of the new iPhone 15 Pro range. So as you enter, the iPhone 15 series has entirely captured the floor over here. You will not find any iPhone 14s right now. And we have the 15 Plus over here. That's the first thing we'll see the moment you enter the Apple Socket store, or in fact the Apple BKT store in Mumbai as well. So this is the 15 Plus. Well, you have the dynamic island over here, and not to forget the Type-C port is over here as well. And this is the 15 Pro. 15 Pro. Again, the Type-C in iPhones. It's looking so weird that we're so used to seeing Type-C in Android phones only, and this is the first time we're getting to see Type-C ports in iPhones. And this is the king of the show, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is like a maxed out edition. This is a titanium finish that you can see, and this is the titanium finish. And let's see the pricing. So the minimum base variant of the iPhone 15 Pro Max is 256 GB, and yet it starts at 1,59,900. That's quite expensive, especially in India compared to other countries. But yeah, this is the this is the flagship device of this year's iPhone range. And if you're on budget, if you have around 75,000 rupees, then this is the iPhone 15. Now, there is a dynamic island in all of these iPhones. The first time you're getting to see dynamic islands on all the new iPhone 15 range. And of course, USB Type-C. As far as the processor is concerned, the iPhone 15 has the same processor like the iPhone 14 Pro. So it's basically, you can say, the iPhone 14 Pro with dynamic island. That's what the iPhone 15 is all about. And this is the A16 Bionic chip, A16. This is the A17 Pro. Now, this is a new chipset and this is very powerful. A17 Pro chipset on both this and the 15 Pro Max. You can convert the iPhone 15 Pro series into a gaming console. You can play AAA titles. That's cool. You can just plug into your phone to a monitor and along with the gamepad, and you can game like a pro. That's really interesting. So this is the titanium. Yes, this is the titanium range. As you can see, there are other color options as well. I'll just take you through the iPhone 15. Here's the pink, and this is the lighter shade of the new titanium finish. And there is another interesting color over here. This one. So you can, if you come to the Apple Socket store, you can touch all the iPhones and you can actually get to experience all the phones. You can check out all the colors and all accessory range as well. And talking about the iPhone 14, there is a 14 series phones as well. Yes, just for comparisons, if you want to compare and see that which one makes more sense. So this was the new iPhone 15 Pro range. You can of course come into any Apple store, Apple BKC or Apple Socket stores to check it out, or you can also go to Reliance Digital or Chroma or other retail partners as well to check out the new iPhone 15 series. So from September 22nd, that is today, the sales have started, and of course you can just buy the same product online as well. You may get some good discounts. If you're buying in store from any of the Apple store, there is an HDFC card discount of rupees 5,000 that you can get.
First time for everyone. That's why we don't let them in, okay? Because you have to have an employee to serve you. Just make a mistake. Don't worry about it. First time for everyone.
काफ़ी अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था मेरा। मैंने सुबह से वेट किया यहाँ पे, क्यों में मैं खड़ा था। कोई करीबी 4 बजे से मैं खड़ा हुआ हूँ, तब जाके मेरे को मिला है। बड़ा अच्छा है।
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. The iPhone 15 has been launched in India a few days after it was launched in the United States. There were many people who were waiting for hours together to get their hands on the latest model. My colleague Yasha got us this report from the Mumbai iPhone store.
So the first time that ever since Apple moved to make in India, there is a launch in India. Last few months we've seen that there were Apple stores which were launched in Mumbai as well as Delhi, which is where today for the new range of iPhone 15 and several watches, there's a launch that's happening today. We're here at the BKC's Apple store, where you see people have queued up ever since early morning. There are two separate queues. One is that of pre-booking. The other one is also of people who are walk-in customers. Right here, this is the pre-booking queue. There were two options that people had. Apart from India, there are 40 such countries where the launch is happening today. There are several people. This is the pre-booking line that we see, and there's another line for people who are walk-in customers. There is an option available for people to either pre-book or, for that matter, even walk in today. This in fact shows a big move of Apple from the earlier switch wherein the production was happening in China, but now it's in India. The new launch, the new range of products, that is iPhone 15. There are 4 iPhone products that are being launched.
Now, Chandrayaan 3 created history upon its soft landing, but it's not just over yet. ISRO is hoping that the rover and the lander, Vikram and Pragyan, wake up now that the sun is back on the lunar surface. How is that going to happen? It's expected to happen tomorrow.